আপনারা দেখছেন টকিং পয়েন্ট।
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us with Talking Point and our guest, Councillor Deshai. Before we went on break, Councillor Deshai, we were talking about the different aspects of law and order situation and the demographic structure of Newham Councillorcy. Let us take one by one. What is the crime and law and order situation in the council, in Newham Councillorcy? I have been looking at some of the figures, and it seems that apart from Hackney, which comes almost near Newham, you have a figure which is 10.97, and this is I picked up from Metropolitan Police website. In your different wards, you have different figures. Antisocial behavior, 1,265. Violence against persons, theft from motor vehicles, robbery, personal, and residential burglary, which is, I think, 259 burglary and others. But antisocial behavior is the top. And what describes antisocial behavior?
Well, there's two things I would say here. Firstly, there's crime itself and fear of crime.
Yeah.
No matter how much work you do, no matter how much crime falls, people still have this fear of crime, and there are different statistics. There's more fear of crime in the evenings, late evenings, and when it's dark. Right. And that's quite understandable.
Particularly long dark evenings of winter.
Particularly long dark evenings. I mean, I had a meeting this afternoon with the mayor and our law enforcement officers of Newham Council, and I can tell you that for Newham Borough, the police statistics for all crimes, but domestic violence and hate crimes, are actually falling. Serious crime, assault against a person, from common assault to grievous bodily harm and actual bodily harm, is going down.
This is September 2012.
Yeah, but you can take it from me that the figures, all recorded crime figures, for all categories except for domestic violence and hate crimes are actually going down significantly. And that's because of the joint working between us and the police, and I can give you examples of that. But I don't want to avoid your question, which is about anti-social behavior.
Yeah.
You got the Metropolitan Police, who now have to operate in the same climate as the rest of us.
Right.
Some would say they always had to operate in a climate of cuts. There's going to be massive cuts. They're the Conservative government, and it's not a party political point I make, it's a fact that they're actually imposing on the Metropolitan Police. So they quite understandably are concentrating on issues that the council can't deal with.
These cuts, many say, that they reflect the economic atmosphere, the economic flavor of the country right now, all over the world, really. I mean, there are cuts everywhere.
Well, that's one view. I mean, you got the Tory mantra, and it is a mantra. Every time they ask a question, well, you've been in power for 2 years, why is the economy not improving? They'll say, well, Labour left us in this mess. I mean, let us not forget that there was actually growth under Gordon Brown and Tony Blair. Then there was a world banking crisis, for which we were not responsible. Gordon Brown took drastic action.
There is crisis all over Europe.
Crisis all over it's a world crisis. The Indian economy is showing signs of stagnation. If you read today's
Bangladesh economy is showing signs of improvement.
Well, I'm happy that something good is happening at least in one part of the world. But in today's Guardian, there's an article on Kingfisher Airlines and Vijay Mallya and his conglomerate. Kingfisher Airlines has been grounded, which was a success story of epitomizing the success of the Indian economy. What I would say is that you cannot just cut. You also got to have a growth strategy. If you grow If there's more money coming to people's pockets, they will spend more. That's the way you spend your way out of recession. But what we have now is a double-dip recession, which has been caused by the fact that this government strategy is just simply cutting, and there is no alternative growth policy. There's no alternative policy. But to bring it back to reality, what does it mean for people living in East London? It means less police officers on the grounds. It means less council frontline staff, although we are trying to minimize our cuts.
When you say less police constables on the beat, see, my council tax has not gone down. I'm still paying the same.
Well, in Newham, it's not gone up. We kept it frozen for the last 4 years. It's only risen in line with inflation.
So, you are still getting the same kind of money. See, maybe the central support has come down.
Yeah.
Maybe the central support has come down, but you're still getting the same kind of money. See.
No. If you look at Newham and the cuts that we are having to make compared to, say, a borough like Richmond, which doesn't have, the same scale of problems that we have, the cuts that Tower Hamlets are suffering, Hackney, the government's cuts are impinging very, very, very heavily on areas that actually need those particular grants. I mean, you can only raise so much money from council tax. It's a central government grant. That is why we have central government. That we have worked out that Newham is underfunded very heavily by millions of pounds, and it is therefore having to make those choices. What is important for residents? The need to keep frontline services going. In my own portfolio, for instance, we actually have budgeted in a way that we actually spent £2 million buying in 66 police officers from the Metropolitan Police who will work with Newham Council under our direction unless there's a major emergency and the police have got to call them back. So, because we see that as a priority. Let me give another example.
Right.
Free school meals, in spite of the cuts that have been imposed upon us by central government, vicious cuts, our budget is being cut by every pound, £1 in 4 over the next 3 to 4 years. We are actually still maintaining a program of free school meals. Every primary school child in Newham, regardless of their parents' income, gets free school meal. Because we believe that a healthy diet, a nutritious diet, is important to them doing well academically. We've got a scheme called Every Child a Musician, where every child in year 5 and 6, if they want to develop their musical talent, we give a free instrument and along with free tuition. We are looking at expanding our range of free programs. For instance, the mayor has got this idea of every child a reader, every child a sports person to carry on the legacy of the Olympics. So cuts in itself is not an excuse.
Well, since you have mentioned Olympics, let's talk about what Olympics has done to Newham. Did it bring the promised results, the benefits?
Well, let me quote a person from outside Newham. I noticed in this week's Newham Eastern Advertiser, the MP for Bethnal Green and Borough, my friend Roshna Ali, she actually has commended the mayor of Newham's work program. We got a place called Workplace, which we set up in partnership with local agencies. Because one of the complaints was that people are coming out from school, colleges without the skills that businesses need, people like City Airport and so on. And so Workplace was set up very specifically to match potential employees with employers who are looking for certain sets of skills and to help them sort of compete in the job market. Rushnara commended the mayor of Newham. It's in this week's Advertiser. Go and see it for yourself. So this is not, I'm not making this up. This is an outside person giving an example of how Newham is responding. We got the biggest volunteering program in the country, the biggest swims program in the country. We're actually building a new leisure center. We are not cutting down on libraries, for instance.
Great.
And what we want to do is, as a mayor, the mayor of Newham is also a member of LOCOG, the organizing committee for the London Games, has made it repeatedly clear that if there's no legacy left behind after the Olympics, in terms of job creation, real jobs, proper jobs, long-term jobs, if there's not a sporting legacy left behind, the Olympics is about people. The show has now moved on to Rio, but we are still here in East London.
Did it create jobs, I mean, temporary or long-term for the Newham residents?
Well, it's too early to say that. I mean, because, and again, there have been articles in the national economic press about this. The real results, the long-term results, it will take months to work out the effects of how these standards fundamentally change. But when you look at Stratford City, a whole new city, the Olympic Village, that's going to be turned into housing, mixed housing, a mixture of social housing plus private housing. There are new schools being built in and around the Olympic campus, along with Westfields, which has actually employed people from Newham. The Westfield Skills Academy, working with workplace and local sort of employers. All the planning applications we deal with, the first question we always ask is, how many jobs will this create? How many of those jobs will go to local people? What sort of jobs are there? All jobs are important, of course, but it's also you want jobs that actually can skill people, can actually give them a career path, and so on and so forth. You see, the East End, we missed many opportunities in the past. I'm going back 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
When, after the war, the world was changing. We had the rise of Japan and Germany. And in some ways, we're making up for lost time. But those of us who are in power today, we've got to learn from lessons of the past, some of the failed experiments where jobs were created, but for instance, many of our communities felt that that they were not benefiting from, say, what happened in Canary Wharf 20 years ago with the London Docklands Development Corporation. You then had extremist groups coming in and giving easy answers that your local council doesn't care about you, they only care about certain communities. Right. We have looked at those experiments, those lessons. We made sure that we actually get jobs out from the developers who want to develop the East End. Those jobs go to all our people, all our communities, and they're actually real jobs. So I would say the Olympic as a spectacle was excellent. The whole nation was hooked. I personally, I'm going to be honest, I didn't think it would be that successful a show. True. And I should know better, but it was I was spellbound by it. The way that Mo Farah, for instance, winning his 2 races, the whole country coming behind him. Right. It was Britishness.
It united the country.
It was Britishness in practice. People talk about building Britishness. That was building Britishness in practice. Right. The Union flag, which we say is our flag, which at one time the far right had hijacked for their own ends. Yes, whether we are British Bangladeshis, British Indians, British Africans, it actually united us, but it's now carrying that legacy on, not living on past glories. Right. And we are actually, as a council, looking at ways to develop that legacy, sporting legacy, a housing legacy, a physical legacy, jobs, regeneration.
Right. We did very well. If you look at the medal table, we did very well.
Absolutely. I think we came third.
Probably much better than we had done before in other Olympics.
Yeah, indeed. And as I say, that if that actually is a non-physical legacy of the Olympics, that actually inspires a whole generation of people to take sports seriously. To live a healthy lifestyle, not just to compete. Not everyone is going to become a new Mo Farah or a new Jessica Ennis. Right. But if it gives them a vision to inspire, to do better. I think the slogan of the Olympics, better never rest. Right. That's a slogan I think we should apply in our life in all its aspects. Better never rest.
Yep.
And that is the one thing that is the thing that has always guided our political work in Newham, our program in Newham, that we got to constantly look at ways of new ways of developing the local economy, inspiring people, giving hope to people.
But did you get the number of jobs that were promised that Newham will get during Olympics? Did you get that?
Workplace has set up 5,000 jobs since it's been set up. But as I say, the long-term effects, we will get to know over the months and years to come. These things, there's a filter-down effect in terms of,
I was reading somewhere that it created 100,000 jobs, but that was temporary.
Well, inevitably, given the nature of events like the Olympics, there will be lots of temporary jobs, a lot of jobs in security and so on, jobs which will obviously go once the games are over. But with the setting up of the Queen Elizabeth Royal Park, the future of the stadium is yet to be decided, but there's no doubt that it will be put to very good use.
But there are interested parties.
World-scale events, lots of benefits for Newham residents, and so on. We are hoping that local community groups, local schools will take advantage of the stadium and its facilities. And inevitably, these events, concerts, whoever uses it, sporting organizations, that will bring in revenues, bring in more jobs. There is a potential for a whole leisure-based industry to be set up around the Olympic Stadium. Yeah. And the economy affects...
Your East Ham club is interested in that.
West Ham. Well, they are one of the parties that are rumoured, certainly if the press is to be believed, have expressed an interest. They are based in the area. I can't comment on, but yes, from what I gather, they are certainly interested.
It has really regenerated the whole area, isn't it? I mean, it has provided the leadership, it has provided the economic activity, and it has provided the natural boost, and spirits have gone high, and people became one, as you said, the feel-good factor, as you said, yes.
Yeah, and that is, I think, now the next stage that we, for too long, I'm talking historically here over the last 50 years, we've had this culture of dependency, of not giving it a go. And what is good for people in other parts of London that happen to be more advantaged than us, that should not be the case. We are as good as anywhere else. We've got to aspire for the best. Our political job, and as a community, is to ensure that we inspire our children to achieve their full potential, and to break out of this cycle of despondency, dependency.
Right.
And that is why I'm excited of the future of the East End, and in particular Newham. I mean, as I talked to you about all the work we are doing, the Olympics, Stratford City, the developments along the river, the housing developments, London City Airport, the new London that is actually growing out eastwards along the river.
The new airport on Boris Island.
Well, that's Boris Johnson's vision. But what cannot be disputed, that London has moved eastwards.
Right.
And I may be biased here, but I think all the evidence points to the fact that Newham is the heart of the new London. And now, don't forget the transport links, which is very important in any modern city economy, national economy. Stratford is now the most well-connected place in this country.
It will be soon, hopefully. Councillor Deshai, we have to take a break here. And after that, when we come back from the break, we will talk more about the East Ham and West Ham and our perceptions about our future, hopefully. And then, viewers, we'll take a break. Don't go away. We'll come back. Thank you.
আপনারা দেখছেন টকিং পয়েন্ট।